Hello, what's up, YouTubing fam? I'm humbled to have you guys on my channel, and yeah, like you've seen from the title and the thumbnail of this video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys uh, um, the top three, working tools in the forex market, and I believe most of the things most of you have an idea on them. But what I'll be doing, I'll be throwing clarity. Yeah. So, without wasting or without further ado, let me show you what those are. So, one, we are going to be using structure. Two, supply and demand. Then, lastly, you'll be using time frames. You'll be using different time frames to go through. So, let's get into it. We are now looking at Euro USD. So the first thing, when you look at a chart, what you're going to do, you're going to pull out your trend line tool, and you will have to identify the recent highs, you know, the recent highs and the recent low. So price is over here, and you will have to identify, in this case, our high is right over here, and the most recent low is right over here. So the next thing, you will need to identify the direction of the trend. So we also look at the previous highs and previous lows. So before this and this, you will identify the previous low. In this case, this is the previous low, and in this case, this is the previous low, and this is the previous high. So by looking at these, you will identify that we are in an uptrend, because price just created a new high. Now, using that information, we will now combine that with supply and demand. So as soon as we know the trend of the market, as soon as you get an idea of where the market is heading, now you want to go to a higher time frame and look for a demand zone, you know, a higher time frame demand zone. Like in this case, we are trading the H4. So we go to the daily, yeah, and we will look for a demand zone that was responsible for the break of structure on, in this case. So we shall highlight that using a rectangle. It's quite a big zone. So now we go back to the H4. So going back to the H4, we narrow down and we look at the most recent break of structure in this zone. So the most recent break of structure happened here in this zone, and the zone responsible for that was this zone right here. So this was the zone responsible for the break of structure. Now, as soon as you've refined your zone, now you want to look for an entry, and in this case, you will hover to a lower time frame. So going onto the lower time frame, we repeat the same procedure. Yeah, because as you can see, this is quite a big stop loss of over 50 pips. You don't want to take such a trade. So what you want to do is you monitor price as it approaches into this zone. Yeah. So still we are going to use the same rules, just like we looked at higher highs and higher lows. We monitor the higher highs and higher lows of price on the H1. So we can see that price is maintaining a bearish market, higher, higher low, higher high, higher low, and then we register the first higher high. As soon as we get this change in trend, this is when we want to get into a trade, and we look for a convenient. We could as well uh, go down on lower time frames to get into, yeah. But at this point, you can get in, and you can see now your stop loss is only 20, 20 pips, about 20 pips. And our targets, we take them to the highs of the market. Yeah, so we've just looked at trade scenario one. I can give you another trade scenario. and this works on any time frame, you know. So let's look at, for instance, GBP USD on the daily time frame. Let's we go now to the daily, yeah, before we're using the H4. So currently, where is price? Price is here. So what you want to do, you want to map out the previous swing point, which is a swing high. Then this can be taken as a swing low. Yeah. We can also look at the previous one. Where was the previous? This was the previous high. Yeah. This was the previous low, and we can see this was the previous. Yeah. So this was the previous swing high, and this was the previous swing low. Price has crashed through this low, and we also look at the previous ones prior to this. This was the previous high, and this was the previous low. So price keeps maintaining, breaking the lows, pull back, break the low. So we are in a downtrend on this, and what you want to be looking for is a pullback uh, into this zone. We can now go to the weekly and look at the zone responsible for the break of structure. So going to the weekly, we can clearly see that the zone that was responsible for the break of structure is up these ends, you know. So we go back to the daily and refine the zone. So we can see this is a zone. So what you want to do is to monitor price on the H4 as it approaches this area. And as soon as we get a change in trend on the H4, you jump in for a sale. Let's look at how this performed in the past, because we can clearly see that it already worked. For instance, we had a break of structure and the market came back. So let me remove this. I'm a little bit fast. So going on to the weekly, we can see that uh, we had institutional supply here that led to the breaking of this zone. You know, there was this demand zone, but this came after the break. So the zone that was responsible for the break of this area was actually this. So we mark it out on the weekly, and we go to the daily, we go back to the daily and refine. So the institutional candle, you know, so we had this was a valid institutional candle too, but it was already mitigated. It was already tested in, you know. That's why we didn't consider this, because it was already liquidated. So this was a fresh supply zone right here. Uh, and what you want to do is to go to the H4 and monitor. As soon as price taps into this, you want to go to the H4 and monitor a change in structure. So this was the most recent low, and as soon as price broke it, we ask ourselves, where is a zone that was responsible for the break of this? We can clearly see this supply zone broke this structure, and that's why you want to be getting in with a sell position on that pullback. Stop loss above and targets, you know, we can have our targets up to the previous low, and we can see the market came and crashed it. So basically, that is a strategy. Yeah, that's the strategy. We can look at another example. Going back to the daily, we can look at another example. So for as long as you can draw, you know, just put the low, and as soon as the low is broken into, yeah, So let me remove this and this. So as soon as the law is broken, these are the laws. So we go to the higher time frame and ask ourselves on the higher time frame, what was the zone responsible for the break? We can clearly see that on the weekly, we had a crash, and that crash originated from up here. So you highlight out that zone. You highlight out that zone. Now you head over to the daily and refine. In the daily, which zone was responsible for the most recent break of structure? So in this zone, we can see this was the last structure break and it originated from this. So we are going to highlight the zone that broke structure in that area. Now, all you will wait for is for price to come back into that zone and go on the H4 and monitor. So hovering onto the H4, as soon as like price tapped into our area, we now monitor structure. So we can clearly see this is a low, this is a low, you know. But the first structure, we had a structure break of this low, yeah. And as soon as we got that, price came back to grab liquidity, and there was equally a more confirmed structure break, which was this, yeah. So as soon as we get this structure break, uh, this was more confirmed. We have a trend change. So at this point now, we repeat the whole procedure. Yeah. Going back to the daily and identify in the daily where there is a zone that caused the break. So looking into the daily, it's clear that the break of these laws originated from here. So in this area, this whole candle, so we can go back to the H4 and look for supply. We can see we had a bit of supply here and the supply here. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, basically that's how it works. Get in here, stop loss above the zone, and we ride the trade until the bottom. Equally, this would have given you a 1 to 4. So yeah, I would like to hear from you guys. If there is anything you didn't understand or you want me to throw more light on, put it in the comment section. I'll get back to you guys. And in case you need me to throw more light, I can make something different for you guys. But be sure to like and subscribe. Yeah. Enjoy your day. Thanks for watching.